Today for the Global South Dialogue on Economic Crime Symposium on Financial Crime. Today, the 17th of March 2024. The symposium is running from the 17th to the 19th of March. And I'm here today with one of the presenters at the symposium, Juliet Ibekakwu Nwagwu. I would like her to introduce herself, but I'll just do a little bit of introduction. Juliet is a PhD candidate at the University of Sussex, and her experience cuts across corruption and financial intelligence in Nigeria, in the West African region, and also internationally. Juliet was a one-time Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit Director General. Is it Director General or Director? Juliet was a one-time Director of the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit. And I'll pass the mic over to you, Juliet, to do more introduction of yourself.
Thank you, Emeka. It's my pleasure to be here today, and delighted to be part of the symposium that has just concluded the first day of the session. As you already rightly said, I'm a doctoral research student at the University of Sussex, and before now, I had worked previously with the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit, and when it was still within the EFCC as a department. And I've worked with the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, and I've transited from there to work with Commonwealth Secretariat as a legal expert embedded within the Intergovernmental Action Group Against Money Laundering in West Africa. And in the past 8 years, I've worked as an advisor to President Buhari on international relations, particularly focusing on stolen asset recovery and how to return that back to Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The interview today is going to be much about your experience in Nigeria at different levels of governance. Mm-hmm. So I have a list of questions, 5 questions. Won't take so much of your time. And the first of my list is regarding your role at the NFIU. So you were instrumental to Nigeria's delisting. So Nigeria was gray listed?
Nigeria was in the high risk jurisdictions. At that point, it wasn't called gray listing. Okay. They had called it previously the blacklist, then they moved from then to the high risk jurisdictions, and now the gray list.
Okay, so the question there is, tell us about Nigeria's earlier listing and your role in facilitating the country's delisting back in 2013.
Thank you. I think when I was appointed as the FIU director in 2012, one of the tasks I was assigned was to work closely with a presidential task force that was set up by President Jonathan to ensure that Nigeria was delisted. One of the things we did, and by the way, I need to mention that the mutual evaluation report that led to that, inclusion of Nigeria in the enhanced, or if you like, high-risk jurisdiction, was prepared while I was still in Jaba. And so I was aware of the challenges that Nigeria was facing by the time I came back to Nigeria in 2010. And then in 2012, when I became the director, Nigeria had, been informed of the challenges too related to terrorist financing and, anti-money laundering issues and challenges with the laws. There was already, if you're aware, that there was a 2004 Money Laundering Act, which unfortunately FATF and JABA has said did not meet the required standards, and therefore Nigeria needed to improve on that. There was also the fact that the Financial Intelligence Unit at that point was not yet made an independent unit, which was a requirement. And then we had issues related to recovery of proceeds of crime domestically and internationally. So there were a couple of issues. Then we also had the issues related to our corporate laws were not yet in tandem with issues related to beneficial ownership transparency and ensuring that corporate entities were properly registered and could easily be identified. And so there were a couple of issues that Nigeria was required to address within the mutual evaluation report of 2008. And so what we did was to set up this presidential task force, and then this task force had an interministerial committee, people drawn or experts drawn from different agencies to look into how best to address those issues that were raised in reports. I think fundamentally, what Nigeria did at that time was to look at how to improve the laws that were already in place, including the Money Laundering Prohibition Act, and then the enactment of a Terrorism Prevention Act as well became very critical. And as you know, at that point, Boko Haram case had become very acute, and there was a very strong demand by the international community that Nigeria needed to enact a Terrorism Prohibition Act. And so that was part of the thing that was done to address the removal of Nigeria from that list. Yeah.
Okay. Fast forward to the current time, 2023, Nigeria was grey listed.
In 2022.
2022.
Yes.
Nigeria. So Nigeria is currently grey listed by the Financial Action Task Force (FATF). Can you advise on the strategies needed to facilitate the country's delisting?
Thank you. So what has happened between 2013 and 2022 is that Nigeria, having passed all the laws, there were still outstanding laws that were, required to make Nigeria, first of all, compliant with the legal standards. But then FATF raised the issue of technical compliance, because now FATF's assessment procedures changed. The legal compliance, the technical compliance, and then what they call the effectiveness compliance. So those compliance relates to the extent to which the laws have been implemented, in addition to having very strong laws. And what Nigeria is doing today is that Nigeria has moved from, to a very large extent, Nigeria has addressed most of the problems, or if you like, issues raised in the FATF report of, I believe, 2021, because another mutual evaluation report was released in 2021. And so that 2021 report informed the grey listing. And Nigeria was given 1 year within which to implement the findings from the 2021 report. It was because Nigeria could not meet up with all the requirements that led to that grey listing. So Nigeria has moved ahead to, first of all, the Proceeds of Crimes Act was enacted in 2022. Amendment, if you like, there was a repeal and amendment of the Money Laundering Prohibition Act. So we have a new act of 2022. We now have a Mutual Legal Assistance in Criminal Matters Act, which was not there before, to address international cooperation in extradition, mutual legal assistance, and asset recovery. Nigeria also passed a new Company and Allied Matters Act, meant to address everything related to legal entities, registration, and transparency. And you may be aware that Nigeria has also set up a beneficial ownership transparency register, which is helping to look at entities who may be involved in the commission of different corporate crimes. So that is happening on the legal side. On the effectiveness side, there has been a lot of effort to ensure that we are implementing the laws. And so if you, and just not just implementing the laws, but putting together data to support what is being implemented, both in terms of cases, in terms of policies, in terms of case laws, and then making sure that those information is available for easy access. So you can stay in the UK and you can view every work that Nigeria has done. And this is really what is critical. And this is what FATF and JABA is asking of Nigeria, that there has to be data to support every work that has been done, to know, so that everybody can see it without necessarily having to come to Nigeria, especially in the age of technology. So yeah, this is what Nigeria is doing at the moment. And I believe hopefully maybe in the next FATF meeting, they may consider removing Nigeria from the grey list.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask that question and you answered it. When do you think there will be light at the end of the tunnel?
Yeah, we hope the next we hope the next plenary would address that issue.
All right. So the third question is: you have a range of experience in combating financial crime, not only in Nigeria but within the West African sub-region. During your time as special assistant to President Buhari, the president of Nigeria, the then president of Nigeria on justice, sector reform, and international relations from 2016, you worked on asset recovery and management. So can you tell us about Nigeria's asset recovery and management framework and your opinion about its ability to deter financial crime?
Well, what I would say is prior to 2022, before the enactment of the Process of Crimes Act, the government was challenged with ensuring what I would say coherence and comprehensiveness in the management of recovered assets. So what the former Attorney General did was to set up an asset recovery and management unit within the Federal Ministry of Justice to assist in coordinating the various agencies. At the last count, we realized that Nigeria had close to 16 agencies that had different mandates or various mandates on asset recovery at the domestic level. And this affected the collation of data, the reporting of data, just to locate even the assets that were forfeited was a problem. And so the conversation about having a central database was really what the former Attorney General tried to do. And with the passage, or if you like, the enactment of the Process of Crime Act, this has become easier. So all the agencies are required to submit data to the Asset Recovery and Management Unit. For international cases, we had a coordinated framework that allowed the Federal Ministry of Justice to interface directly with international partners and government who either have access to assets belonging to Nigeria, outside Nigeria, or who were in control of those assets. And we're able to engage with them to develop international cooperation agreements that led to the recovery of more than 650 million between 2017 and 2023. The first one was the Swiss return in 2017, and Nigeria's engagement in that regard led to also the development of the global framework on asset recovery, which has been used in many countries to set the standard, if you like, in international asset recovery.
So is that in Naira or in dollar terms?
Everything is in dollar terms.
Good. Mm-hmm. So the next question, what is the role of asset recovery, or your opinion of the role of asset recovery in facilitating Nigeria's attainment of the SDGs?
Well, the first of all is to note that SDG 16 has already set out that asset recovery is critical in ensuring that SDGs are funded or financed. And one of the things I believe that we have tried to do just before I left office was to identify projects that could support development for the citizens and for the country generally. And in doing so, the government of Nigeria was conscious of the fact that these funds were very important to ensure that development. And the only way to secure them was to reach an agreement with the countries that were returning those funds. In fact, it was only from 2017 that Nigeria started to have a clear framework on how to manage assets and how to, make sure that assets returned were clearly defined as funds that should go into development for proper projects. And so in 2017, the agreement signed with the Swiss government had World Bank as a monitor and also had the civil society organizations, the African Network on Economic and Environmental Justice, to monitor the use of those assets. If you go to ANIJ website, you will see what they call the Mantra Project. It's a project that has been well celebrated in terms of its ability to ensure that that those assets returns were really being closely monitored. The second one was the 2020 agreement between Nigeria, Switzerland, and the Bailiwick of Jersey that led to the return of $311 million. And that was also, there was another agreement that was used in bringing together, in fact, it was an advanced framework and better than what we had in 2017. So the 2020 agreement had 4 pillars of accountability. One is on ensuring civil society participation in having an auditing report published and having what we call the publication framework, meant that every quarter there has to be a publication of all the financial reports. And finally, there was a requirement to share every information with the parties that return the funds so that they can also see that the Nigerian was implementing the agreement in line with the terms established. And subsequently, Nigeria has now taken this as a template, and other countries, in Kenya, for example, the same procedure has been adopted in signing the latest agreement they had with Jersey, and many other countries are taking the same template.
Very well. And talking about celebrations and wins and achievements, you won an Egmont FIU Award for Best Case while serving as the Director General of the NFIU between 2012 and 2013. Can you tell us about that case?
Well, the Egmont Group of FIU is a body, an international body that brings together about 170 financial intelligence units to share best practices and exchange information through what is known as the secured platform. And FIUs are then required to, from time to time, to submit cases that have met certain criteria. And in Nigeria, then we were looking at a particular case of what we believe was an international terrorist group that based in South Africa that had links in Nigeria. And one of the things that we found that helped South African authorities to trace, one, the funds that they were using in South Africa, and secondly, to trace the individuals that were behind the attack, because there was an attack in Nigeria. They bombed the Eagle Square when a public event was going on. And so they were traced to, based on the intelligence that we provided, they were traced to South Africa. And when this was done, we were able to present the case study to the Egmont Group, and the process that we used in tracing the funds became, something that they thought was unique in its right, and that is how we got the award.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
It was really nice hearing you present, not just presenting as an academic, but presenting as an experienced financial intelligence expert. It was also beautiful seeing you not just presenting by word of mouth, but also presenting with evidence from data.
Thank you.
We hope to continue this conversation And
Thank you.
thank you very much, Juliet, for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Emeka.